Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Authentic Info Podcast. I'm your host, Admire Stanley Jauk. On Friday, the EFF held a consultative meeting with professionals as a form of people's manifesto, where professionals had to submit to the EFF what is it that they think the EFF should not leave behind when they launch their manifesto or upon drafting their manifesto. So this was a very interesting consultative meetings. Professionals went all out, and majority of them, I think, do not agree with all the cardinal pillars and policy position of the EFF, especially when it comes to land occupation, when it comes to the issue of foreigners and other issues that were raised that I might not cover. But it was some sort of 4 hours meeting, but very progressive, and professionals took to the podium to speak about the issues that are affecting them in their professional spaces or work environment. So it was very interesting to listen to doctors, to listen to engineers, to listen to people of commerce, lawyers, and things like that. Professionals speaking about the challenges that they think the EFF, upon taking power, they have to address. So the ANC did this. Videos are there. Information is there. They did this thing when they were approaching 94. Consultative meetings. But when you compare the two, you'll see that no, they did not have people who were ready to govern. Now, on the one that I saw on Friday, I saw people who I think should be our ministers, people who understand how government should work, people who have solutions to the problems that we are facing. And these are the people who attended that consultative meeting, and I'm glad they spoke their mind, they were given that green light to speak and shoot whatever they wanted. So, for example, the challenge that the health system is facing. So there's a health expert who spoke to that, who spoke about that. The challenges that they are facing, for example, changing the system of teaching or educating the nurses, aligning it to that of Europe, and saying that it's a challenge because they are dealing with South Africa, which is multiracial, multilingual, and majority are black people from rural areas, disadvantaged. And the way they are training nurses now, the woman thinks that the nurses that they are going to produce in the next 2-3 years will be useless. And they are strained. These lecturers are not well equipped of the system that government needs to change to. So saying that it's a waste of state resources, it's a waste of time. And another thing that they spoke about is that there is no money in the public sector. And it is where they are trained to focus. And when they think of, or when they get opportunities to work in the private sector, and they look at the salary or wages that they earn in public, no one wants to go there. And that majority of the doctors are in the private sector, are in private practice, compared to the minority that exists in government. And they state that it's a problem because when they judge healthcare, they only look at the private sector, the public sector. And private sector healthcare or private healthcare is expensive and a very unaffordable for an ordinary South African. So the health system is strained, and when they say that they are given at least a budget of 250 billion, and 75% of that budget goes into salaries, and they are left with 25% to expand, develop infrastructure, maintain, and things like that. So it's not enough. It's nothing. So these are some of the issues that they sent to the EFF to say you, the EFF, when you take power, make sure that you add to the current budget. You make sure that we push for infrastructure development and expansion of the healthcare, because it is strained and it is stressful. There's one woman who's a doctor, who's a psychiatrist, who spoke, and it was very sad and painful to hear her speaking that she has been reduced to an ordinary doctor, because she have to do general practitioner's work, because they are not doctors. Sometimes they work 36 hours, a 36-hour shift, which is not normal. And she's expected to treat everyone who comes. So she says it's very straining, it's very stressful, and it is not healthy to work in a government hospital. That is why we are losing a lot of professionals to the Arab Emirates, things like that, to the outside of the continent. They are paid 3 times what they earn in South Africa, and everyone who gets that opportunity, they leave. Other people who spoke are the engineers, consultative engineers, engineers who work in government, who are doing administrative work. And they say it's painful to go and study to be an engineer, and then you are employed and you are not allowed to do any engineering work but to administer and outsource companies to come and work. And when those companies come to work, they don't teach them anything. So they just become administrators in government. Meanwhile, they have qualifications, fully qualified as engineers who were supposed to develop this country to be better, to develop roads. Someone who is a civil engineer was complaining about the same issue, that they are not taken serious and government is not doing anything about them. And those who own companies, saying that they know that all the lucrative deals of engineering are given to the top 5 firms or companies, civil engineering companies in South Africa. And the rest of the peanuts, black people must fight for that. So they say that the EFF must go in power and address these issues. So there are a lot of engineers who spoke. I think there were 10, and they spoke about issues that were hidden, issues that are very painful, and they have solutions to the problems, because these are engineers. There is a woman who has a company. She complained about the payment that there's a project that she did, and she feels like she did it for free, because it's a complete project, but it's been 5 years, she has not been paid by government. And they say that anything above 15 million rand, you will be bullied when you have to be paid. You will have to go through a lot of processes, and someone doesn't want to sign and things like that. And another thing is that they say if a black guy gets a tender, it's a black guy who is not a professional. And the black guy will go and subcontract professionals and pay them peanuts. So what is the reason for giving a company that doesn't have professional engineers work that needs engineering or engineers? So these are some of the things that the engineers were complaining about, and they have solutions. They say in South Africa, it shouldn't be allowed that someone with a matric or grade 12 goes to register an engineering company. At least it should be someone who have background and understanding, experience, knowledge, skills, and capabilities of engineering, of an engineer. It must be someone who is an engineer, well qualified, who goes on to open an engineering company and employ other engineers to do engineering work. But in South Africa, that is not the case. Government will give tenders to people whose companies consist of no engineers, and then they will have to go and subcontract proper companies to do the work and give them peanuts. I mean, there is a popular case now that involves Edwin Sodi. It involves Edwin Sodi. We all know Edwin Sodi as a man who gets lucrative deals in government. implicated in a lot of cases and corruption in the Free State. Of the tenders that he got, where he never even finished some of the projects. We know him of the Rooiwald water plant tender of close to 300 million, where he subcontracted a company that only saw the work to be less than 22 million, which means he took 270 million rand for himself, subcontracted some guys to do the work for 22 million rand. And this is an engineering company that sees the work to be at least 22 million. And on that 22 million rand, those guys are going to get profit, pay salaries, and things like that. And then the guy sequesters the bag of at least 270 million without doing the work. These are some of the things that these engineers were trying to address. They want the EFF to go in government and address the issue of social workers. The social workers were also there, that in Gauteng and other areas, social workers are underpaid compared to other areas, and they have a lot of work to do, and sometimes they're not taken serious and things like that. And the issue of having politicians in strategic positions, that at least if the EFF could take power in 2024, it must consider using or employing professionals for professional work. They must consider professionals for professional work and let politicians do the political work. But they say that it is not the case. And we know in various departments in South Africa that majority of directors are not qualified people. These are political connected individuals who are directors of very critical positions. For example, you'll find a director of finance who only have 2 days, 3 days workshop certificates and a grade 12. That person's a director of finance. And how do you expect that component to perform? It won't perform because it is headed by someone who knows nothing about finance and they are director. So the ANC-led government cadre deployment system has messed up the country. It has messed up the state. It has messed up these departments. They are on their knees today because of cadre deployment. Because cadre deployment sometimes actually is not a problem. But deploying an incredible, unprofessional, zero qualified, unskilled cadre to a critical position of director of a component or director general of the whole department or head of department, it's bad, it's wrong. It shouldn't be allowed. They should be vetted, and they must consider deploying cadres who are qualified, who are capable and ready with knowledge to go and serve the people with an understanding of that particular component. So they say that the problem is that they are professionals, but they submit to a person who is not a professional. They are highly qualified, but they submit to a person who is not qualified. And another thing is that that was raised by one health professional, saying that no one trusts the clinics in rural villages, in the suburbs, anywhere. No one trusts the clinics. They want tertiary healthcare. They want to go to these big hospitals, and it strains the resources of these hospitals, because clinics are there for primary healthcare. And now he proposes that under the EFF-led government, at least they should bring back, mobile clinics where healthcare workers goes to the people. We know that back in the days they used to do this. Our grannies were not waking up 4 a.m. to go and be vulnerable for robberies, rape, and things like that, waiting for taxis to go to the hospitals just to queue for medication and come back. We know that there were mobile clinics which were accessing the people, which were going to the people to render basic healthcare services. But under the ANC-led government, it's all gone. It's no longer there. So healthcare workers are pleading with the EFF to bring back that type of system where the people receive basic healthcare services from home. And I think that is good, looking at the vulnerability that elders have to go through. Our grannies, our grandfathers, grandparents, our parents are vulnerable for attacks, are vulnerable for any criminal opportunists to vulture them and make them their prey because of waking up early trying to catch the first bus to town or to the city just to go to that big hospital where they still have to queue and spend the whole day without food, with no water and nothing, just to queue for medication which should go to them. I mean, now we have e-hailing. I think government must also look into that, have their own e-hailing system that will register people who are supposed to receive medication and make sure that they go to the people to give these medications, and then all people only consult where they have to see a doctor. Then they can go to hospital with an appointment and things like that, and stop going every month, because they are all elders who goes to hospital every month for medication, not checkups, just medication. So these are the things that government must change, must improve and move with time. So there are a lot of issues which were addressed. Even the public protector spoke about the reports that were there that were never entertained, especially in health and other faculties. Lecturers spoke about the type of education that we have, that it is weak, it is not preparing us to be anything anytime soon. So it also needs to be challenged. A lot of people spoke, lawyers spoke about briefings that these political parties are not briefing black lawyers. It's difficult for someone who is a law student, someone who comes from university, studying law, who have studied law, to make it in the law faculty. It's very difficult. That's what one man spoke about, speaking about new lawyers, that they enter into an environment that is not friendly to them, and it becomes difficult for them to be professionals. It becomes difficult for them just to serve articles saying that they must revive the legal aid to be what it used to, and to be, or to achieve its vision and dreams of changing the lives of lawyers. That it shouldn't be difficult for new lawyers to serve articles and things like that. So there are a lot of aspects which were touched, excluding arts and culture. But they promised, the EFF leadership promised, that they're going to have another consultative meeting specific for arts and culture and things like that. Even religion was not touched. But majority, when you speak, when you afford lawyers a chance to address you, when you afford all engineers, people of commerce to speak to you, you have covered a lot of aspects. And I think it's a great thing that the EFF has done. But I'm happy that others raised issues of illegal occupation of the land, that it needs to be looked into, because it's not easy to render services to those people when now they are there and they depreciate the value of their houses in such spaces. They also spoke about the problem of foreigners, that they strain the economy of South Africa, and the EFF must carefully look at their position when it comes to foreigners or illegal immigrants. So they they made submissions that makes sense. And I think we should go and watch that consultative meeting and learn a lot about the concerns of the people. This is Authentic Info Podcast. I'm your host, Admastan Jelgo. Don't forget to subscribe. Thank you.